Hey, welcome back to another Habs Weekly Report with hockey coach Francis directly for the beautiful country of Canadiens. What amazing, great Sunday night, January 12th, 2025. Sorry, we have a goal in NHL. This disturbed me right away. I have to look. Minnesota Wild score. Ryan Hartman, Haniel. Tonight we're going to talk about Montreal Canadiens, the review of the week. And Montreal, a great week again. And we're going to talk about fun news around the Montreal Canadiens and prospect for the Montreal and what's coming next week for the Montreal Canadiens. And a lot of things to talk about, of course, of you Blue Blanc Rouge. And we cannot do a weekly report with my regular co-hosts every single Sunday night. They are back in the green room. They are finished their makeup, ready to rock and roll. Why not welcome back from Toronto? You sit at home and from Nova Scotia. We welcome back Mr. Enartap and Mr. Devin are in the house tonight.
What's up, gang?
Hello. Hello, gentlemen. Hello, Hockey Nation. Another week gone by. Another good week for Montreal. Sounds good to me.
It sounds great to me to see a Montreal getting to play that level. And you know what I do? I follow the Calgary Flame. What a game last night. They went for the score 2-1 against the Kings. And we're looking good. We're looking good right now. And the Rocket win this weekend, 1-0-1 also. So it's a great weekend if you're a Montreal Canadian right now. It's not only on the ice, but the NHL Draft 2025 could be really good for the Montreal to select maybe 2 picks on the top 16 and NHL Draft. We'll see what's happening the next couple of months, but we're looking great. Devin, welcome back from Nova Scotia, where the weather is.
It's a little chilly. It's cold. Not super cold, but cold enough. But -5 or 6.
Wow. But we are in winter time. It's a winter land in Thailand, Mr. Devin, and after that, we get now 68, I believe, during the night, 71, 72, 74 during the day. So people here right now, they wear the jacket, they wear the long sleeve, and the blanket for the lady bar girl outside. It's funny to see that the tourists walking like normal, like t-shirt and short, but all the time the Thai people are a little bit concerned about the weather right now. But that's the best time. The weather is perfect in Thailand, so they can't complaining about what's going on here in Thailand for sure. So. Both of you, thanks to be a part of the show tonight. We're going to talk about Montreal Canadiens. And of course, the subject of the night is about the Habs look so good for the Montreal Canadiens. We cannot complain about the record, the last 12 games, 9-2-1 for the Montreal Canadiens. We're going to go a little bit more deeper, review the week of the Montreal. It's fun. Plus, ask a couple of questions. I'm going to do the clash at the end and your prediction of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. 3 big games Tuesday night against Utah. They are back on the traveling. That is crazy, their schedule, honestly. They came from, during the Christmas, they go to South or Eastern and USA. They go all the way to Colorado. They go back to Chicago. They return to, Vegas before that. And then they Chicago, Colorado, back home. And then they stop at Washington. And now this week, they go all the way back to Utah. And then they go all the way to Dallas and then come back home again, the Toronto Maple Leafs. So this is good for the mileage card bonus they can get on the mileage. So they're going to accumulate another point, and that's the way to do that. So both of you welcome in the show. We're going to welcome a couple of people knock the door. So first of all, Larry Lavallee from upstate New York or Arizona. I don't know if he's back in Arizona. We know, I think he was at home during the holiday. So welcome back. LDP is back in the house. LDP said, listen, I'm going to be a Sabre for the rest of my life. Don't worry about that. Whatever happening, I'm a Sabre. I'm a really believer of Lindy Ruff. Claude Richard, welcome back. Thanks to be with us. Directly de la capitale du Canada, en Ottawa. could be in maybe la capitale de Washington very soon, but that's another subject for another time. How's it going to go back in the house with all the update on honestly a couple of games in NHL, and that's not helping the Montreal Canadiens obviously for the result every day. Whatever they don't play, they have an impact for the race of the wild card and the Eastern Conference. Henry, I almost said Henry Richard, but Harry is in the house. Welcome back, Harry. Thanks to be a part of the show. RJ Calabro in New Jersey, hopefully doing well. Gary Conway back in the house tonight. Yes, sir. I agree with you about that. Live is good. One more game, of course. Philippe, la région de Sherbrooke, I believe. Philippe is Sherbrooke. Welcome back, Philippe. Brand, Caulfield, welcome back, Caulfield. Hopefully doing well. RDP again. PW go with what tonight? Mayfield with 325 yards for Mayfield.
That's a tough one.
I don't watch too much NFL, you know about that, but I got the highlights. Sometime I get, if I turn on the TV, I know hockey. I could check this, but I feel like the playoff right now, it's all about domination. Buffalo, Pittsburgh got destroyed. Charger mess up also. It's not like a close game. You know what I mean? Maybe it's the first round.
Today's where, I mean, the Eagle game and the Green Bay Packers was a little bit closer. Just at the end, Philadelphia pulled away. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Buffalo totally dominated against Denver. And we'll see. This one should be a good one tonight between Tampa Bay and Washington. The two very offensive-minded teams.
Yeah. I watched to check Emmy Smith, but I didn't see him with the Cowboys during the weekend, Mr. Aftab. So, but we'll see what happens.
They have to make the playoffs first, Coach.
I feel like they are the Sabres and NFL right now, but that's a subject for the time. Nation, welcome back in the house. Randy Walkman back. Randy, I have a big, busy weekend. I didn't see Randy, maybe Friday night. I don't think so. I see him yesterday, but welcome back again. Hopefully doing well about that. Tony DeMarc, welcome again, Tony. Thanks for being with us tonight. And we have Pizza. Here we go, Pizza back in the house. Sam, welcome also. Sam, hopefully doing. Bob Smith is in the house. Luciano Moderator back also with us. The Eagles 22, Big Barkers 10. About that, that's happening on this one. Just finished my daily music rush on YouTube. Bob Smith. Here we go. That's good to see that. And to hear about that, like I said, Detroit, Montreal played Detroit at the right time because since that, Detroit won the last 7 games. They had another team really hot, and NHL like the Dallas Stars who won the last 7 games, but they are back in the mix. They are in front of Montreal Canadiens right now. Ottawa, after struggle, 5-6 loss, they won the last 2 games. Now they get back in front of Montreal Canadiens. Now Pittsburgh struggling right now. So I told them I'm going to put them in the playoff. They lost Malkin and now they fall apart. It's
Keep
my
saying
point
that,
behind
Coach.
that is
Keep
like
saying that.
you play 3 games, and then everything changed in the standings. So the key is you cannot lose more at 2 games because if you do that, you'll be behind in the standings. So what surprised you in our tap in the last maybe 10 days or, other affect Montreal Canadiens, but around the NHL, maybe the Western Conference, maybe a players or something. What really surprised, pay you more attention about what's going on in NHL?
Well, I think the big lead is trying to follow Ovechkin in his chase for Gretzky's record there. It's going to be exciting. We're going to see if he can get it done this year. And you had the perfect question out the other night. We all were guessing as to how will the record-breaking goal look like. Will it be a breakaway? Could it be on a power play or whatever the case might be? And it'll be interesting when that happens. And you know what? He's got a good shot at doing it this year. He's just a phenomenal athlete, and it doesn't seem to slow down even after he missed about 8 or 9 games. Here he is right back at scoring. So we wish him luck.
Yeah. Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story for me right now is the parity in the NHL. We're obviously, as Canadiens fans, we're excited at the idea that they're, sort of, in the range of where the playoff teams are. But if you look at both conferences, the difference between last place and making the playoffs is pretty tight, especially in the East. And it's pretty exciting to know that we're going to go through the second half of this season with a lot of teams still in contention and a lot of exciting, meaningful games to be played, not just by the Canadiens, but by a lot of teams. I think realistically, if you look at the standings in the entire NHL, there's probably only maybe 4 or 5 teams that you would say are, have no chance of making the playoffs, and everybody else is kind of they're in the. I mean, I hate the term. I'm not going to say it. They're all in contention
Turn the
for
blender.
for yeah, they're all contenders. I mean, like there's a couple teams in the West I think that are probably out of it, and I don't even know if that there's any teams in the East that you would really clearly say have no chance of making it. It's really an interesting place. I mean, now I think that'll probably change a little bit as time goes by, but I think that's the big story for me now. Is every night you look at the standings and it looks different, and it should be interesting. Like you say, Detroit is on a run right now, and Ottawa, is playing well right now despite having questionable goaltending. So it'll be interesting to see how things go over the next couple months.
And Columbus too, eh? What a story there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like
who
would have admitted that at the beginning of the year that they'd be right now? I believe they're still holding on to the second wild card, right?
Yep.
Well, and just the whole storyline there too is just like it's made for Hollywood kind of thing with the terrible situation with the brothers and Sean Monahan going over there as Johnny Gaudreau's best friend and hoping signing a contract so they get. It's just there's so many storylines over there, and I get that we had a bit of a battle royal with Columbus Blue Jackets fans a couple of weeks ago, Canadiens fans against Blue Jackets fans, the Patrick Laine situation, but it is a pretty fantastic story as far as on the ice and off the ice. It's pretty cool.
Great. What is fun right now is like you have a team like Montreal, or as a Montreal Canadiens fans, to have a team like them all in the mix. That's a fun to watch more the hockey, right? It's more fun to check everything, what's going on, everything like that. And I think the winner is NHL France right now in the Eastern Conference because you have 7-8 teams compete for that spot number 8, and we'll see we'll see what happening. But it's good for Montreal. But if you win 6 game every 10 game, you have a lot of chance to make it a playoff. That's crazy, but that could happen.
Sure it is. And we got to keep thanking both the Rangers and Boston that have created this open door policy for that last wild card. If both of them keep dropping, it could be anybody's spot to take.
It's really Boston and New York are really interesting to me because at the beginning of the year, when people would ask us as Canadiens fans, is Montreal going to make playoffs? We'd kind of be like, maybe if Doc stays healthy and if this happens and that happens, there's a possibility. And the response always was, well, the teams are going to drop out. Like, which are the teams? If you're not going to finish 7th or 8th in the Atlantic Division, who are the teams, or in the in conference? Who are the teams that are going to fall away? And everyone was always like, well, none of those teams are ever going to fall away. And they'd be like, Boston's not going anywhere. New York's not going anywhere. Tampa Bay's not going anywhere. And it was like, and the reality is you never know. You never know. Like every year, there's always a team or two that does a lot worse than everybody expected. And every year there's always a team or two that plays, way above expectation. And it's just funny to see, it's not funny, but it's just interesting to see that, no matter how much you think that certain teams are cemented in a playoff spot, anything can happen once the games start in October.
Devin, would you say we're starting to see a change of arms now? And the NHL, some of the tough teams that have been there for many years are slowly starting to come back down to earth because in an attempt to chase the cup over the years, they've cleaned their cupboard out of draft picks and maybe have given away some of their prospects to try to get there, and the And the rebuilding teams that we're seeing that are starting to climb, it's because they did it through the draft and some very wise pickups like prospects.
Yeah, I do, and I think that New York is a pretty good example of that, right? They run a pretty good track with their rebuild, and they managed to, Panarin kind of fell in their lap, and because Panarin fell in their lap, they all of a sudden sort of abandoned some of the principles that Jeff Gordon had brought into place while he was the GM, and they kind of abandoned some of those principles, and it shows me anyway. I don't know if everybody else believes the same way I do. It shows how important it is to stay with the plan, to not, just because you get a bit of a sniff that you might, have a chance of, like, last year Detroit, right? Trying to, we've got a chance to make it. So now we're all of a sudden, we're going to start bringing in all these free agents, and we're going to start, deviating away from what got us here. And we're going to start doing all of these other, whether it's, signing free agents, whether it's making a bunch of trades. And I think that, the reality is, if your goal is to become a team that makes the playoff every year, that's fine. But if your goal is to win the cup, you can't quit the rebuild until you're actually holding the cup up in the air. It's not, you can't abandon those principles, in my opinion. Anyway, I know not everybody agrees with me on that, but to me, it's like
No,
New
I
York
agree.
is a perfect example. I mean, they've been
Yeah,
great,
you're
right?
up.
They've been really, really good the last 3 or 4 years. But do you want to be really, really good for 3 years, or no win a Stanley Cup? Because right now it looks like their window's closing, right? And I think it's because they did shut the door on their rebuild before it was over, before they ought to have.
Yeah, good point.
Hutson, let's move on. What we talk about? We're going to review the recap game of the Montreal Canadiens. 2-1-0-1 last week. 5 points for the Montreal Canadiens. But most we're going to targeting is the weekend for the Montreal. A big W Friday night, and of course yesterday last by the score only on the overtime, but on the shootout. But add recap 2-0-1. During the week, goal 4-9, goal again plus 8. That give them a plus 1 goal differential. They drop at I think it's moins 14, moins 12. At some point, I think it was like minus 29 at some point. The Corsi guys, 60% for the Montreal Canadiens the last 3 games. Pretty good. Every time you are above 50, that's good. Zuski, 5 points last week. 2 game winning goal on overtime. Caulfield, 2 goals, 4 points. We have Hutson, 5 points. Cody Madison, I think there was the player behind the Saints. We did not have a lot of points on the scoreboard, but play a solid game during the week. And then we have, of course, the return of the sniper. Score is 9 goal power play goal of the year. And looking good for the Montreal power play during the week. Also for the Montreal Canadiens, 30%. And then the PK was also at 80%. So I put this all together, mixed up. And then how do you feel about the Montreal Canadiens during the weekend? Washington and, of course, the Dallas Stars. So we're going to start with Devin on that one.
Yeah, again, it's another great week, and for me, it's kind of the culmination of what they've been working towards, and over the season, and even last season. This is what they've been working towards. I think some of the lessons and the habits and the the systems that the coaching staff has been pounding into these guys is taking shape. They're you hear that if you listen to their post-game interviews over the last week or so, they're talking a lot about maturity. They've become a mature team. Even though they are still quite young age-wise, they're becoming more mature in their approach to the game and their approach to whether it's against a team that's one of the better teams in the league, or whether it's one of the lesser teams in the league. They're sort of as Marty St. Louis calls it, they're playing the game that's put in front of them, and whether it requires them to play a strong defensive game and shut another team down, or whether it requires them to turn their offense up a little bit. They're able to do that. They're able to adapt. They're more mature. They don't fall apart when things go badly. Like if they give up a goal. I mean, what have we seen? They've come back in. Is it the last 4 games in a row they've come back? Either to win or to send it to overtime. So it's these are things that this team wasn't doing in October and November. They weren't capable of doing those things. If they allowed a goal, they would often allow another goal within a minute or two, and then before they knew it, they're down by 3 goals, and the game is sort of running away from them, and they've got no chance. the maturity there, not just from one or two guys, from the entire team is there now. And Marty St. Louis talked the other day about how his job in some way, especially during the games, has become easier because he doesn't even have to really coach them during the game anymore. They know what's expected of them. They know what the system looks like. They know what they know what it looks and feels like to play the right way. So when they get to the bench, if they have done something wrong or whatever, he doesn't even really have to tell them anymore because they're kind of telling each other. And I think the maturity is the big part of this team right now. And again, they're learning what it feels like and what it looks like to win. And now they have that as it's in their mind now, and they know what to sort of revert back to when things go badly. If they give up a goal that kind of lets the air out of their sails a little bit, they now have like a beacon or something, if you want to call it that, to return to. They have a standard that they can, that they know what it looks like, and they can come back to. Whereas before, they would just be kind of lost, right? If they give up 2 or 3 goals and they're down 3-1 after the first period, they're just lost. They don't know how to get it back, and that's kind of what I'm noticing this week. Again, they played some really, really strong teams. The game last night, I thought, was a good game despite losing. We talked on my show, Intertap was there, about weathering the storm, right? They came out after travel, back-to-back games against a really, really strong team that was rested, a team that had won 6 games in a row, and they came out flying. And the Canadiens were able to sort of weather that storm in the first period, and then kind of bring the game back around to their own style of play in the second period. Unfortunately, they didn't pull off the win in the end. But again, it just demonstrates how much more in control of the game they now are, and how much more mature they are. So it was it's fun to watch, and I really enjoyed it. And it's nice to see all of the work that they've put in, not just this year, but even last year and the year before that. It's nice to see that work actually, start to bear some fruit, and to see them, right now, I don't think that they, there's not a team in the league that you would put them up against where I would think, oh, I don't think they can beat those guys. That's not to say they're going to beat them every time, but I don't think there's any team in the league that I don't believe they have a good chance of winning against anymore. And again, that's a very different feeling than what we've had for, the first 30-ish, 35 games of the season. So it's nice. It's fun. I enjoy it.
For sure. I think you hit the nail on the head on a lot of points there, Devin. For me, last year and the year before, you would look at the schedule and sort of say, where can we get a couple points here? And it was hard. It's hard picking out spots where they could do that, right? And this year, I agree. Like, if they play their game like they have the last month and couple weeks, 6 weeks, they can play with anybody. That doesn't necessarily means they will win every night, but they'll be in the game. They'll be competitive. They're learning. For me, really what stands out is their resilience. Like we've seen sort of and I want to use that game where they lost 8-2. I think it was Pittsburgh, 8-2 or 9-2. And I think that's sort of where they hit rock bottom in my eyes. And from that, they were able to sort of, self-examine themselves and sort of say, where are we going from here? Let's try to get this ship righted here. And, to their credit, they've been able to do that. And I like really their resilience. Like if they're trailing, they can, they don't give up. They don't throw the white flag in. If they're ahead of the game, they keep pressing, and if it's a close game, they wait for their opportunity and try to be as opportunistic as possible. So for me, that all goes under the category of experience and learning how to win. And there's no substitution for that. It's all through hard work. And right now, a good number of the players are starting to come around. Some are continuing to have a good year. The goaltending situation, I think, is really hopefully resolved itself, and it almost doesn't matter who's in net. You're going to get a good solid effort from both goaltenders. And when you put all of that together, and Marty St. Louis starting to feel a lot more comfortable behind the bench, you get the results. The only thing is they seem to have a bit of an allergy after they win 3 games. They can't get that 4th one. So we'll see if that can change in the future. Hopefully it does, but I'll take 3 wins and 1 loss every 4 games, no problem.
And coach brought up a good point earlier too. They're doing all of this in the midst of like a horrific, hellish schedule. You know, the travel and the sort of the what this must be doing to their bodies, like how, you know, the impact on their bodies just of all this back and forth across the country, and you know, playing on back-to-back nights, and you know, without rest. It's they're doing it in the most difficult of circumstances. It's not like they're doing it in the midst of an easy schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely about that. For that, the time he was talking, guys, I look about this. Remember, um, remember last season, during the year, I believe I could be wrong. I think they won only one game on the back-to-back game. So the second game,
Yeah.
okay, and this
They
year,
lose.
after seven back-to-back, they are 4-2-1. So
Beautiful.
this is where you know, you have to when you go on. I do all the time the number like that, and I like that. I think this is a really good important stat for the Montreal Canadiens. Look, this is the biggest difficult of the schedule of the year, and they can go through that. And then my goal of the Montreal Canadiens is to get 7W this month in January on the 14th game. If they get that, they will stay really close to the mix. I still believe that they're going to be fine, but this is what they have to go during the during the month of the January. But again, the transformation, guys, is many things all together. But I think the biggest things about Martin we said, you know, about the fact like is to eliminate the risk management of the puck. And I think this is the biggest thing for me, where you don't want to give the puck to opponent to create more opportunities um, to opponent team. And since that, really the team focus more to play for the team and not for themselves. And this is a goal exactly like Martin we talk about. So just take no chance, be patient, and they with that they learn to be more mature. They learn to be patient during every game. They are not, like you said, they are resilient team, but I think they still with that now they believe in themselves. So whatever the scoreboard is, they go only for what they see in front of them, and the way the game gave to them in front of them, what they do during the game, they would just react what happening. So execution is the first one for me for the Montreal Canadiens. You can add, you know, the return of Patrick Laine, the Carrier, Tobash, everything like that. At the end of the day, it's a team concept, and the team concept you have to buy all in. And right now they're all in. They play good game, but they play important game. And this is the best thing could happen for Montreal Canadiens at long term for learning to win game. And the game in November and December, I think at the end of the year, they're going to realize one thing, Devin and Artep. I think there will be where the players say, you know what? The season does not in November or December. The season starts in October. And they have to be sure next year they have a better preparation, a better training camp, and start right away at the beginning of the year. Everybody have a slump, but I think you try to limit your slump. For obviously, for some reason, maybe they have a role in our top and their team. After 3 wins, they cannot win 4. So I don't know what's going on. But
Yeah,
that's the
that's
three
what I was
time.
saying earlier.
I'll take
That's the
three out
three
I'll
time
take
they
3 out of 4
happening to
for the
them.
rest of the year.
Yeah.
I'll take 3 out of 4 for the rest of the year, though.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so it will be interesting what they're going to do. But again, this is another great week for the Montreal Canadiens. And it's fun to watch. It's fun to be all together on the live stream and sharing that. And I know it's not the same feeling, but that reminded me a little bit the vibes of the playoff a couple of years ago when Montreal go all the way to the final Stanley Cup. As me as the on the channel here, it was amazing, and you can see right now what's going on with the people. Everybody is excited, and they have a good time, and it's good. It's a good time for the Montreal Canadiens, and we'll see what they're going to do. But this is a team I really now. E2 make it this either go all the way to playoff. I'm not there me mentally or I'm not there, and but I want to compete, effort every single game, and stay in the game. So I don't want like it will happen. Sometimes you're going to lose a bad game. It's happened for everybody, but if they can at least limit those games, only maybe one bad game every 10 game, I think it would be a really good, great second half of the Montreal Canadiens. The outcome will depends what happening about that for the Montreal Canadiens. But like we do at the end of the recap game, guys, we do the shoot out, the obscure, and at the office. Can I remember last week who started? So I don't know. Enough time, just do it first.
Okay, sure. Uh, I'm going to base it, I guess, just on yesterday's game with Dallas mostly. It stood out for me. I thought I thought it was Montembeault. He had a 971 save percentage. He faced 35 shots, which is a lot higher, and mostly because of that first period when Dallas came out very strong and peppered him with 16 shots on net. But you know what? To his credit, he was extremely strong. He didn't allow a goal, and then we saw Montreal play much better in the second and third. He didn't let out a lot of rebounds, and when he did, the defense was there to help him out. So I'm going to give him the player of the game against Dallas. Obscure for me, I'm going to go with Josh Anderson. I mean, I love the fact that we're seeing a different version of Josh Anderson, and yesterday was no different. He's constantly like defenders now are starting to keep their head up because they know that he's going to finish a check and he's going to finish it hard. Yesterday, I think he had about 3 or 4 hits himself. He was in on many plays. He's just putting in a solid effort on both ends of the ice. So I'll give that to him. And to the office, a tough one, right? Because again, when they're performing well, it's tough to put somebody down there. But I'm still not 100% convinced, and not because I'm not seeing the best out of him. I think he's capable of better. I'm going to say Alex Newhook. Again, yesterday was, I believe, a -1, and there were a couple flashes where it looked like he was doing okay. He had decent speed and got involved in some place, but other times I thought his presence was negligible, if any. So I'll put him in the office.
Devin.
Good choices. Good choices. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to start at the office, and I'm going to preface my at the office by saying I understand that this is a supremely unfair thing to do to this person, but I'm going to do it anyway, just because it is so hard to find somebody to pick as being in the office. And I'm going to do Michael Pezzetta. And again, I understand that it's very unfair, and that circumstances that he was put in this week were very, very difficult ones. But again, as a guy who has been in the press box for as long as he has, and was given an opportunity, he didn't really take advantage of the opportunity. And I get that it was very difficult for him to do that. But the 2 penalties in the Washington, is it 2 penalties in the Washington game? Is that right? Which game did he have the 2 penalties in?
Washington.
I think it was the first game. Yeah.
Yeah. But the 2 penalties, he just didn't have it. And again, I mean, I understand completely why he didn't have it. And it's hard to expect him to have it. But at the same time, if you're going to pick somebody who, didn't really perform this week for the Montreal Canadiens, I think it probably is him. It's only because everybody else did so well. So that's my at the office. That's my hardest pick. My obscure pick, I think, is going to be Yoel Armia. Again, I think I might have picked him last week, so maybe he's not so obscure anymore. But he just continues to do what he's good at. He continues to win battles on the boards. He continues to use his big body. He continues to help that line. He continues just to be a presence on this where he, perhaps wasn't earlier in the year. He's not really worried about scoring goals anymore. He's found his role in the team. He's playing it really, really, really well. And so I'm happy to choose Yoel Armia as my obscure player of the week. And stood out player of the week is Caden Gooley, right? I mean, Vancouver game, throws that big hit in the first minute and a half, sets the tone. Everyone's talking about him. He had probably, in my opinion, one of the best games that a Montreal Canadiens defenseman has had all year in the game against Washington. I think through the first two periods, he was 9-0. Shots on goal while he was on the ice were 9-0 against a team like Washington. So he's playing big minutes, playing a big role, and they're not even getting shots on goal, let alone scoring opportunities. He's become that shutdown defender that we've been waiting for him to become. And as coach pointed out a couple shows ago, Alex Carrier joining this team, allowing him to go back to his strong side, has just allowed him to blossom as the defenseman that he's capable of becoming. And some people in the comments here noticed, and even over on my show, we're talking about him becoming almost important on the defensive side of the game, and Lane Hutson has become on the offensive side of the game, and he's just becoming that feared shutdown type guy. I mean, they've compared him to Shea Weber. I get that that's hyperbole, and we're really a little bit too early to start talking about that, but that is kind of the style and the path that he's heading down, and I thought he had a fantastic week. So yeah, I mean, for me, he's just been a guy who's become a leader on that team, and it's interesting because I always think of this. If you guys watched, and I'm sure you did, the Kent Hughes press conference this week, and he talked about how you can't just have all young players, otherwise, we're regress, right? And you can't have all young kids, especially on the defense. He talked about you can't have 5 young defensemen, I think. But you've guys like is Caden Gooley still a young defenseman, or do we consider him to be a guy he's more than that now? Like who are the guys on this team anymore? Is Cole Caulfield still considered a young guy on this team, or do we consider him? So if we do get rid of, Devac, Armia goes away, and even, maybe Jake Evans goes away, and Mike Matheson goes away, or David Savard goes away, are we still considering Caden Gooley to be on the young side of things, or do we consider him now to be, more of a, he's got what, 150, 106, some games in the NHL, I think, something. So again, that's sort of, it's interesting because to me, he's becoming that. He's becoming a reliable veteran presence on that defense. He's not a young guy that you have to put out with. You don't have to put him out there now, with Mike Matheson to babysit him and make sure that he doesn't screw up anymore, right? Vice versa. Now you could put him out there with a young defenseman, and he could be the steady force and sort of make up for the younger guy. So I've been blown away by Caden Gooley in the last couple of weeks, but especially in the last 3 games. I think he's been spectacular.
Another great name you mentioned for the shootout. Obscure and outfield. My shootout is Zulsi, Caulfield, Coley, Hutson, Dobes, Marindimbo, Anderson, Armia. Even though I'm just kidding, but it's really difficult to find a shootout. You have Caulfield at 4.2 goals. You have Suzuki at 5 points this week, 2 game-winning goals. And you have Tobesh have a great game. Montreal yesterday have a great game also. You talk about Cooley. You talk about Armia on the Anderson also. You know what I mean? But I have to go with one plus. It's Lane Hutson. Lane Hutson again this week at 5 points, I believe, the last 3 games. That's the recap of the week. So I go with Lane Hutson. We're going to talk about him the next couple of minutes, but I just want to say he is my stood-out player. I would not imagine what a Montreal would be without Lane Hutson.
Yeah.
So I'll go with that, and I'm going to bring you guys Lane Hutson a bit later. I'm going to have a subject about him, so I want to go there. Now, Obscure is really interesting. I think Armia was one of them. And after it was who again?
For Obscure, I had Josh Anderson.
Okay. I'm going to surprise everybody. And I go with Mike Madison on that one. I think Mike Madison, the last 3 games, played his best hockey of the season, in my opinion. He played 25 minutes, 27 minutes. one of the the 3 game this week. He does a very good job with Lane Hutson on the pairing defenseman. He don't turn the puck a lot. So I think for me, Mike Minnesota, whatever doesn't have a lot of point on the score sheet, um, that's not said is not have a bad game. I think he played better overall. Another thing he does, you know what? He sacrificed for the team. Does not play on power play number 2. And he accident. Imagine if Mike Hoffman, if he was removed on the power play, like he was a PD on the corner. But Mike Madison continued to deliver a great minute, a big minute for the Montreal Canadiens. You on the power play unit number 2 on the PK, and overall, I think Mike Madison as a player to mention. And honestly, guys, we don't send anybody at the office. We're going to give a week off Martin St. Louis at the office this week. The office is closed for the week, and I think it's not going to be right to bring someone there. There's some conversation. Yes, I think at some point Sakoski turned the puck at the blue line. Yesterday, guys, not many. I don't think so many. On the goal they gave again the Dallas Star. Talk about risk management, Devin, earlier, right? I said the Montreal, that's the transformation about for the Montreal Canadiens. I would say to you, it was a really bad decision, Alex Carrier, to pinch deep in the zone, right? The first thing, I would say, what you tell to your players, take picture. And the picture is always see what you see in front of you. And at the end of the day, you have 4 players to count. Yourself is 1, and then you say, where are my 4 other players? When you pinch, you want to be sure you have the F3. In hockey, F3 is the one a little bit in the middle of the ice on the offensive side, can cover you at the blue line. When you pinch, you have 3 players right there deep in the zone, really deep in the zone. So it become after that a turnover, and it become a 2 versus 1, and all the way about that. So, I don't like to express one specific player to make a mistake, but this is happening there. Risk management, and with they better they control that risk management. I think that would be good for the Montreal Canadiens. I was just watching when I stop like this, guys. You have something happening in the
1-1.
right? So
1-1.
So I just want to say that power play goal for Dauphiniev. This is a player I won Montreal trades on summer, but it's a subject for the time. So look, this is a thing happening about that for the Montreal Canadiens. But we want thanks everybody to be a part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the like. I appreciate that. Dan pop up tonight. Dan, he said, I think Martin St. Louis decision to keep the line intact, and then it was worked out really well. Dan, you're right about this. But the way they play right now, guys, he has no choice. And I think when he bring Pesada, he could not destroy 2 other lines to satisfy the team together. I think he did very good about this, Dan. I agree with you about that. So I think also, Gary, the office is closed for the renovation for that one over there.
It's interesting. It's interesting, Coach, that you bring up risk management, and then you had Lane Hutson as your stood out, because I think he's the personification of as a guy who has learned how to be a risk manager, right? Like, he came into the league being a very risky player, and I think the biggest improvement in his game is that he's learned, he's taking fewer risks, but more than that, he's realizing when he can take risks and when he doesn't take risks. And, the stuff that you bring up about, the 4 guys that you have to know where they're at before you make a decision, he appears to be able to do that every single time. Like, you talk about taking a picture, it's almost like Lane Hutson's able to take a 360-degree picture at all times in his head. And it's just, it's incredible that he has that ability. Yeah. It's amazing.
And not only that, when he does take the risk, Devin, and it doesn't go well, I mean, just watch this guy skate back. He is probably I've been looking the last 5 or 6 games, and when he loses the puck or somebody else does, he makes sure he hustles at 100 miles per hour getting back to to his defensive position in hopes of tying up his man or at least intercepting a pass. Like that's what you love to see is the player coming back and covering.
And it's not just getting back either. How many times have you seen him this year where he'll cough up the puck in the offensive zone, and you're like, oh shit, he turned the puck over, but then he gets right back in the guy and he steals it back. Do you know what I mean? Like he gets like almost inside the guy a little bit, and he he'll give up the puck, but then he doesn't quit. Like he continues, and you know he manages to get the puck back. It's just some of the stuff that he does with his stick is just. Yeah, it's there again. I'm probably talking like I'm his brother.
It was a good point. I think it was a great example about the risk management, right? The action, like Sakowski got cut yesterday, I believe, or Friday night. I think it was yesterday. 2 times he turned over at the blue line. When you do that, you want to be sure you have a safety behind you, right? It's like in football. I don't know football too much, but I think safety is the last player at the back of the defensive, right? But nobody after you.
Yep.
So you miss the tackle there, it's over. It's all the way to the end, right? So the same thing with Sakowski. Make a mistake at the line. But a turnover right there, it's a breakaway where 2 versus 1 right there. So you have to be a little bit more cautious about this. Awareness, honestly, about that. Martin Saint-Louis and Peter DeBoer mentioned about how they talk about the risk management for different players, their action on the ice, and make a difference at the end of the day. So that's happening for the Montreal Canadiens on the weekend. A great recap, guys. We go through. Thanks everybody to chat. We have a few people knock the door. Thanks for being a part of the show tonight. Don't forget, please, to click on that. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. talking about the NHL and the Montreal Canadiens. And my 3-star of the week for the Pipeline Montreal Canadiens, the Rocket, and the Montreal Canadiens. Now, Montreal Canadiens in the mix to the end. So this is a conversation. Everybody in the chat, you can join us and tell us what you think about this. Do you believe Montreal Canadiens in the mix? For me, it's 5 points less at the playoff number 8 spot. So do you believe Montreal Canadiens, what you see in the last 12 games, 9-2-1 of Montreal Canadiens, are going to continue all the way to the end? Yes, of course, injuries or could make a factor, can change everything. But if the team say who they are, do you see, a slump at some point, or do you see no, this team's going to be good all the way and maybe make the playoff or not? But do you really believe they'll be in the mix on that one? I will start with Tap. What are your thoughts about that situation for the Montreal Canadiens?
Well, to be honest, Coach, I mean, I think we're all at the same page. I hate using those words in the mix. If we're talking about in the mix, being with those teams like, the Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Buffalo, in terms of challenging for a playoff spot, I got to believe that they will be, right? I know they have a tough January, but then at least the schedule gets a little bit better. I mean, I'm not going to say it gets easy because nothing in the NHL is easy anymore. But I find that when I looked at their February, March, it's a lot more manageable. There's less back-to-back games, and the key thing for me, and we're seeing it this year, but we don't talk about it a great deal, is that you see the effect of being healthy. It's been 3 years that Montreal has led the league in man games lost. And this year, knock on wood, they've been relatively healthy. And you see, it just puts people in the right spots and gives them the ability to perform their roles to a more effective degree. And that's what we're seeing. So as long as they can stay healthy, I think the schedule will let up a little bit after the January games, and I think that they should be around that ballpark.
Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the way that in the mix has been mischaracterized, misrepresented by a lot of people in the media. I haven't been a big fan of it. They've sort of represented that in the mix was a goal for this team, and that if this team wasn't in the mix, that it somehow would be a failure. And for whatever reason, they used in the mix in October as some sort of demonstration that this team was a failure because they weren't in the mix in October. So again, I struggle with the term myself. So the way I want to respond to the question is the same way it was expressed by Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes at the golf tournament is, if the Canadiens continue to progress and continue to play and develop the way they are right now, I would expect that they will be in the mix at the end of the season. I expect that they would be playing meaningful games at the end of the year. So that's the way I'm going to express it. It's not, it's not whether or not I think they'll be there, or it's, if they're not there, it's a failure, or if they are there, it's a success. It's more of if they continue down the path and down the road that they're on right now, I think that it's quite clear that they will be in the mix, and they will be playing meaningful games in April and May, and that they will be challenging teams like Tampa Bay, Boston, Ottawa, looks like Columbus. They will be challenging those teams for a playoff spot. If they take steps backwards, if they get injuries, if there are guys who fall out of the lineup, if different things happen, and the progression doesn't move in a linear direction the way it has been so far this season, then I don't think they'll be there. But that's the way I think that in the mix was intended to be presented in the first place, and I think it's the way that I view it, and I think it's the way that it probably should be viewed by others as well. So that's kind of my take on in the mix. But I think, like I said, if they continue to move in the same direction they are now, I think that they will have the opportunity to be in the mix.
Good point, both of you, about that. I think, like Gary said, or someone in the chat, they said, of course, injury could be a factor about that, but without injuries, I think Montreal will be in the mix. I think they're going to compete enough all the way, and we'll see what happens at the trade deadline. We're going to talk about this next couple of minutes, but I think overall, Montreal can go right there, and this is good for the development. For me, I see this as the best thing happening for the Montreal Canadiens on the plan of rebuilding. They need to learn to win game. They have to play a meaningful game, and this with the development of Martin St-Louis to show to the player what it takes to play hockey, to as a team together. This is great, and I've been a big believer Martin St-Louis. I know I defend him a lot, and I know some of you about Martin St-Louis, to play with him, and remember that one, because I think this is the most important thing for Martin St-Louis. You have to be a smart hockey player. You have to be a smart hockey player. And remember when he was in Boston College, at Boston University last year, the head coach, is it Jay Podolfo, ex New Jersey Devils, Boston Bruins, right? He said during an interview, I think it was Marko D'Amico, or could be wrong. He said the beauty of this is the Lane Hutson, how smart it is Martin St-Louis is going to make him a better hockey player in NHL. And I think he's right. To play with Martin St-Louis, you have to be smart. You have to understand the game. You have to have a great vision. You have to have a hockey sense and IQ. So I think this is the reason I believe Montreal Canadiens with Lane Hutson. But imagine when you're going to have a better talent, better skill. A Davidov example, with a player or smart, like, you're going to laugh at me, but I think when Owen Beck is going to be part of Montreal Canadiens, he's the top 3 smartest player in hockey. If you look about his at school, first of all, he's great, but that's not make you smart at school. You go to school, you're smart, you're going to be. But the way you see the game, Owen Beck, this is what he will. He mixed very well with Martin St-Louis is looking for hockey players. So we'll see, but that's happening for the Montreal Canadiens. I think that's the reason I believe the Montreal is going away in the mix.
And if you notice, that's a thing Montreal is focused on with the prospects that they've brought in, is that hockey intelligence, that hockey IQ, like Lane Hutson, Demi Duff, Owen Beck, David Reinbacher, right? This is a skill. This is a quality that all of these guys, it's at the top of the list of their qualifications. And I think there has been a conscious effort to focus on players who are like that, who see the ice well, who read the play well, who read the game well and make good decisions. And I think that's been a very, very much a concerted effort by this team, from the scouting staff to the coaching staff to all the way along the line. That's been something they've been very, very focused.
Great point about that. Thanks everybody to be part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on like. We're going to move on. This one's going to be interesting. I said I'm going to talk about him, and it's the case right now. And I think we have him. I think Montreal Canadiens are going to just add this, Devin. That's what I was thinking when you're talking. Then I read the comments about Gary. I would say to you, also with that, they're looking for character of the players.
Yes.
And with also, if the players play big game at young age, and for them, it's very important when they select the players about that. So we'll see.
And you know who I left out of that? The guy I left out of that list too is Jacob Fowler. The stories I've been hearing about Jacob Fowler and how he approaches his craft as a goaltender, like talking about like the angle with which he puts the puck out, away. It's really quite impressive. Like the intellect that he approaches being a goaltender with, it's pretty crazy.
I know A2 Roy does not like Rebecca. I will tell all of you. I will consider exactly how we said. Many of you did not believe me what Leonard said. I will tell you again. David Rebecca is going to be a solid defenseman in NHL. Said that, you don't have to be a first-pairing defenseman to be a solid defenseman. He was going to be a solid defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. David Rebecca is going to get there. I will say to you, Adam Ekstrom is going to be a solid defenseman in NHL. The key behind that is always to find the right share with the right partner to make that player good also. So for me, I have no doubt in my mind for David Rebecca. Just give him time. Give him 3 years, and he's going to be where he's supposed to be. Like Kaden Coley now is 4 years in NHL. But my next subject, Mr. Nartap, are you ready?
Let's do it.
This is official now. This is official tonight. This is tonight. It is. And A2 is going to be agree. He disagree with Rebecca, but he said, I agree with Coach on that one.
Must be Hutson.
Lane Hutson
Yes.
is an elite player in NHL. And I think he become the first elite player for the Montreal Canadiens since who? I don't know. Carey Price?
Stéphane Richer.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody after Carey Price to be an elite player.
Yeah. I mean, there's elite is a tough word to use all the time.
I don't like to use the word a generation, Mr. Antap. But we said to you, for me, elite player is the same caliber as the Ken McCall, as the Kent Hughes, are the top defensemen in the NHL. For the defenseman, but an elite player for me also is the impact he make for each team. And you have to be at the top of your position you play in NHL. So for me, this is an elite player. It's an impact. He become your best players also, and I confirm he is an elite player already, and for the Montreal Canadiens, and this is a big news. For me to say that.
Do you see that banner behind Entertap's head right now? My opinion, and again, people may laugh at me when I say this. I think Lane Hutson's the next number 48. I think is the next number to up in the rafters at the. I guess I'll say the Bell Center. I was going to say the Forum, but I think he's the next number to go up in the rafters. I mean, again, I know that the Toronto Maple Leafs fans will all be throwing up when I say that, but I honestly do. I think he has the potential to be, like Coach said, Carey Price is probably the only elite player the Canadiens have had in the last 25 years. And I think, if he'd won a Stanley Cup, his name probably in the rafters. But I think Lane Hutson is on that level. Like beyond Carey Price, I don't think there's anybody in the last 25, 30 years that has the capacity. What he has the capacity to become is beyond any of those players, except for maybe Carey Price.
Yeah,
I truly believe
the
that.
only thing I would add to that is, like, we're talking about what he can become, and I don't disagree. I agree 100% with that. But if we're saying elite right now, not at the level that some of the more established defensemen are. Like, he's still not a Cale Makar. He's not a Quinn Hughes. He's getting there, and he will get there. I truly believe it. But if we're going to define it as today, this moment, not quite there. Very good player. Excellent in what he does. I think he's changed the complexion of the team 100%. But I think it's, when you're talking about elite, you have to bring in that component of consistency and longevity, and that will establish exactly where he lands. And I'm confident that he'll get there as long as he stays healthy. But right now, he's not there.
Yeah, and I think it's similar to the in the mix comment, right? Like, if he continues on the path that he's on right now, I think the sky is the limit for this player. I don't think there's anything in this game that he can't achieve if he continues on the trajectory that he currently finds himself on.
Yeah.
Great point about that, for sure. I'll give you some information about Hutson. I apologize. I should start with that, but I will give you this. I'll just give you an idea about that. Lane Hutson, with 32 points, lead the rookies in NHL. With 32 points before the game of NHL tonight, he is 7 with the most point, and for all the defensemen in the NHL, and he's 6 with the most assists in NHL for all the defensemen. We talk about the full players play defenseman in NHL. He's at the top 10. And he played only 43 games or 44 games in NHL. Pretty amazing. The last 12 games, he has 12 points. He's plus 7. At some point, it was minus 14. And now he's at minus 7. He has 6 of the 7 goals minus is an empty net. In our tap, you get a minus when you get an empty net. The last 12 games are 5 versus 5. When he's on the ice, Montreal Canadiens, the last 12 games, they scored 29 goals. But he was on the ice of the goal for 13 times. It's almost the half of all the goal for the Montreal Canadiens. And when he's on the ice, goal again. The Montreal Canadiens, in the last 12 games, they gave 21 goals. He's only on the ice 6 times. It's less, approximately only 30%. Then on the ice, won the shot on the net. Montreal Canadiens shoot 291 shots. He's on the ice for 130 shots on the ice. He's on the ice one Lane Hutson play. And finally, when he's on the ice, shot against, Montreal gave 144 shots. And he is on the ice 83 times only on that. That gives you an idea. And Hutson played an average of 22-20 minutes per game.
Wow.
So this is the stat where you don't see only the 30 points, but what he when applied. This is only, guys, at 5 versus 5. Not including the PK, not including the power play. It's all about all situations Montreal Canadiens. It's only at 5 versus 5. Those stats, guys, this is the reason I said to you tonight, he's an elite player. And yesterday, he said another time he make a save with the legs, or is it the night before?
2 nights ago.
Playing for Washington.
So the stop he make with the leg on the back of 2 versus 1, I think is underrated, in my opinion, on defensive. Now, he's not like, the Peter Angelo, right? But I think he's underrated by the way he control his stick, his position, his angling, and his skating on the ice when he defend 1 versus 1. And when you have a back-checking guy, is always he is the first one's coming back. I want to do my power. So he lay, for example, on the ice. And I'm telling you right now, not only Montreal Canadiens are impressed, but everybody in NHL cannot believe it. What's going to see with Len Hutson. Of course, it's going to be harder when you see them a second time. But again, for me, Len Hutson is the first elite player Sun Carey prize right now for the Montreal Canadiens. And it's just going to get better and better. If he's not get injury, I cannot tell you that. And our top is a question for the clash. So I have to wait. I have to be patient. Now. I have a question for Len Hutson and the clash, but we have to wait about that. So now, that's the reason I believe Len Hutson is an elite player.
What do you think, just to throw another stat on the pile, what do you think his plus minus is since December 21st?
That's his 12 game is plus 7.
Plus 6.
Plus 9.
So it's more at
he hasn't had a negative game. He hasn't had a negative game since December 21st. He hasn't been on the negative side of the plus minus in any game since December 21st.
Yeah, the last game he got a minus is a -2. So 2 game prior, so game number 14, the last 14 games are 14, the game number 14 15.
He's had no games since December 21st with a minus. He was even last night, he was even the night before, +1 the night before that, +1, even, +1, +2, +2, even, and +2. Those are his last. Those are all the games since December 21st. No negative. Plus minus games.
I mean, winning will do that as well, right? But
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Like my only caution is, the longevity aspect of it. Like I think we really have to take that into consideration. We can't jump on a bandwagon right away. Yes, he's transformed the game for Montreal, and we finally have, I believe, a true quarterback on the power play as well. And those are all positives. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying, let's give it a little bit of time, because one of the things that an elite player will have to do from year to year, because opposing teams and opposing players will do for sure, is adapt to his game. And can he redefine parts of his game to sort of counteract that, right? And an elite player will find a way to do that. They reinvent themselves in some aspect of their game, and that's what makes them truly elite.
Yeah, no, and we saw that with Kent Hughes playoffs last year. He struggled because they got pretty physical with him, and he wasn't able to adapt. We've seen, we've seen Hughes. He worked on that, right? And he's gotten better at that. And I think we've seen that even recently in games, in the Vancouver game, for sure, where, Vancouver made a point to, sort of make sure that there was a body on Len Hutson at all times. And in a way, it's almost like he enjoyed that, because when they commit to trying to hit him, he can do, a lot of the other stuff that he does offensively on the game, to avoid that. But you're right. I mean, I agree with you completely. I mean, we're jumping to conclusions with Len Hutson that are probably not, I'm not going to say they're not warranted, because maybe they are to a degree, but again, there's a lot of things that have to happen between now and if and when he becomes, as I say, having his jersey hung in the rafters at the Bell Center. But again, I just think that the trajectory he's on is one that we haven't really seen in, even, he's on a trajectory that's even, you could argue is even beyond the trajectory that Cale Makar was on through his first 40 games of his career. So it's pretty wild to watch.
Good point about that. I would just add one thing right there, right? He's going to hit the next 2 weeks is maximum game he played in the NCAA the last 2 seasons, 49 game, 48 game, right? But I'm no doubt in my mind, that's not going to bother him at all. He's a machine for me. The kids continue to learning, get better. And you can see, guys, he control since, Devin, you talk about this, right? The plus minus and 12 game 21st, right? I think the last game was December 20. He got -2 as he again Detroit, the Friday night. Since that, you can see his change. Some people say, "Oh, yeah, I feel like he does not carry the puck more or he's not. He continues to fake it, right? Move his head, fake it, right? But he does this properly the right way. This is the biggest change of Lane Hutson in the last month. Why he understood the risk management are back again about that, and what the game gave him to in front of him. So the game gave him to go on to see the same, go. Doesn't he see the same? Wait. Maturity right there. This is the biggest thing for for Lane Hutson, in my opinion. It is going to be better and better. So this is the reason, and in my opinion, I could be wrong. I'm going to, and after I'm going to get, it's okay. I can put my target on the back right now. It's okay. I'm going to give you a bigger things here. I believe Leonardson, if he's not right now, is going to be the best player, and he is it right now, better at Ken McCarr. I know it's hard to say that. Between the goal line to the blue line, Mr. Natap, in NHL, he is the best player, in my opinion, in NHL. His vision, his second lane, the puck position, and the create opportunities. This is what Lane Hutson is. And for me, I don't see many players between the blue line on offensive side all the way to the goal line have those kind of talent and skill like Lane Hutson. I understand Kucherov, McDavid, I understand that. As a defenseman I'm talking about, this is it. If it's not better to McCarr, that's the same caliber as Ken McCarr, in my opinion. Now we're going to say he won the Norris, I understand that. I'm talking, guys, for the blue line to the goal line on the offensive side of the game. I don't see a player at the same level like Lane Hutson. The kid is unbelievable. Now you're going to say like it's pas les lunettes roses présentement, coach. It's not the point, guys. This is who is. That's the reason it is an elite player, in my opinion.
And remember,
one thing. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just
going to say something really quick.
Okay, go.
I was just going to say, remember what team he's done all of this on, right? He's done this on a team that was not very good for, the first 40 games of his career. So as this team gets better, again, I get where you're coming from, Intertap, and I'm sure you'll make your point, but just remember that he's put up these numbers that are Cale Makar-like numbers on a team that is significantly not as good as the team that Cale Makar put those numbers up on.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm going to turn the table around on you, Coach, because if you remember, last Sunday, you put out the question in our challenge, and you said, will Lane Hutson win, I think you said 2 or 1, maybe, even 1 Norris Trophy? And I think I said yes, and I think Devin maybe agreed, and I think you said no, because as long as Quinn Hughes and Makar are in the league, he's not going to win. Do you want to change your mind?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. And imagine Lane Hutson when he's going to be play with a better team.
When he has a Demidov on the team.
When he's going to have better team.
Well,
you know what I mean? You can see already, guys. It's friend one, Patrick Lenny is on the ice with Lane Hutson. You can always see that. And his vision is so unbelievable. And again, the people said right now, the Randy says no better to Makar. I'm telling you right now, when I said Makar, I said for the blue line to the goal line. Makar have a better shot. Makar have a better accuracy, right? But create play. Imagine Lane Hutson have Nathan McKinnon, Rantanen with him right now.
He might one day.
I don't discredit Makar. But if Lane Hutson a better player on the ice with him, I think Hutson is going to be better and better with the time. Again,
so you change your answer to absolutely then?
Even if you just wait Lane Hutson to get Patrick Laine on the power play on a regular basis, right? He's, those are just like like point he got on the power play against Dallas was, I mean, that's not even really a big deal. Like, he just feathered a little pass to Suzuki, like those kind of points are just going to come because he's on the ice with Patrick Laine. So, anyways, I think I agree with both of you, and I think we all kind of agree. It's he's going to be great. Are we ready to put him at that level now? But I think there's just and like you said, it's longevity is a thing too, right? Maybe he gets hurt again. Knock on wood, but again, if he stays on the trajectory that he's on and he can stay healthy and he can stay productive, I think that he's on that track. His track right now is in the same world with those great names.
You're right about that. I think one thing I would say to you, Dimitrov is the next one's coming very soon to be another elite for Montreal again. So Montreal could have, Mr. Artat, 2 elite players. And I think we talked many times about is it generational players? Like, you don't have McDavid, you don't have a Crosby. But I think if you get one elite player per position, Mr. Artat, usually that team is solid. You have... he took about Tampa Bay Lightning, right? You have Vasilevsky, you have Edmund, and then you have Kucherov. That's 3 different positions with 3 elite players. And this Montreal can have those kind of players right there and the future. I think that'd be great. And then we have around that, you have other elite players around those players, like Kucherov as Senkos, right? Brandon Point as those players. I think for me, at the same caliber like Lane Hutson, Kenan Coley. I think Kenan Coley is another one. We're going to talk about him the next couple of minutes, but I want to finish with that. The next news I want to hear, everybody, guys, is about Kent Hughes, and I want to share this in the chat. I want to how you feel about that. So Kent Hughes on an interview with I cannot remember. Anyhow, he said he's not going to make any trade at the traded line. He's not going to become a buyer. I apologize. So, do you think it's the right decision or not? And do you think Kent Hughes need to change the plan? Richard Labbé on the BMP today talked about this. He said Montreal maybe should change the plan of the rebuilding. Now, he said Kent Hughes does not want to be a buyer. Disagree or agree with that? I'm going to. I think in our time you did the last one, the last one. So let's start with Devin on that one.
If Richard Labbé said that, I think they should take his microphone and his pen and everything away from him. I think that if you're a reporter and you have the kind of access that Richard Labbé has to the Montreal Canadiens, and you think that because they've strung together a month of good hockey, that they should abandon the rebuild that's been going on for 2.5 years that has got them to this point. If you think that they should abandon the plan that has gotten them to where they are today because they've played good hockey for a month, then I don't think you have any business reporting on hockey, let alone hockey in Montreal. It's just, if you think that they should be abandoning this plan right now, I just don't understand what you're paying attention to. And maybe you're doing it for readers or viewers or clicks or whatever. But at the end of the day, the worst thing that Kent Hughes could possibly do would be to abandon the current course that this team is on. Yes, they're playing well right now, and yes, this is part of the plan. But the plan is for them to continue to be committed to developing from within, to developing with their younger players, and to seeing where their younger players can get them. Is there a possibility that at the very end stages of the plan, you might go out and put a couple finishing pieces on the plan with some free agents or making a trade or two? Absolutely. But right now, you've put together a team that's clearly capable of winning in the NHL. With your own, you've done that from within. You've done it with prospects. You've done it with players that are from your own organization. With a few small, exceptions, and you need to continue that. And as we've talked about, you've got Demi Delve coming down the road. You've got Reinbacher coming along. You've got Owen Beck coming along. You've got potentially Michael Hage coming along. You've got I could go through Kanyushkov, Mayu, all these guys coming along. You owe it to the plan that what's the expression? You dance with the girl that what is it? You dance with the girl that brought you, something like that, or you owe it to the plan to see the plan out. And like you said, if 2 or 3 years down the road, you're one player away from beating so and so in the Stanley Cup final, then yeah, maybe you make that move or that trade, that free agent signing. But for now, the idea of abandoning the rebuild, in what really right now is still the early stages of the rebuild, to me, it's just it makes no sense whatsoever. And if you're an experienced reporter working for BPM or RDS or TVA or whoever it might be, and you're calling for this team to make big moves to trade prospects and draft picks for there's people out there that are talking about trading for Mikko Rantanen. Like, why would you add a $14 million salary to the team right now? Like, I don't understand that. Like, what? Like, it's just, again, to me, again, I guess getting back to the question, change the plan? Absolutely not. Not in a million years. This plan is what has changed the Montreal Canadiens organization. It's what changed us or brought us away from what this organization has been for the last 30 years and brought us back to relevance and is pointing us in the direction where for the first time there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And the idea of abandoning this plan, to me, is just the worst possible thing that anybody could possibly consider. I know you guys know that I'm a big fan of the rebuild. I think you are as well, Entertap, and I think you are too, Coach. But to me, this idea that we've got reporters out there, to me, the biggest threat to the plan is that the reporters, the media, and the fans are going to put so much pressure on the team that they feel that they have no choice but to move away or to deviate from the rebuild. And when I hear reports like this from somebody like Richard Labbé, it really, really, one, it scares me, and two, it kind of pisses me off because he knows better. And we as fans who follow the team as closely as we do, we know better as well. And the best route for this team to success is to continue with rebuild and to stick to the plan as closely as humanly possible. That's my rant for the night.
Well said, Devin. I concur with that 100%, and I truly believe, it all starts from up at the top. When this all started, and Molson went out there, and what did he do with some good advice from, I believe it was Bettman, went out and got Gordon. He had been through this. He had the experience in terms of a rebuild, had started, and we saw some good results with the Rangers until he left, and now we see some bad decisions that came along because they strayed away from the plan, the Rangers, and that's a big deterrent to that to where you want to be in the future, and I think that Molson brought him in, and they went and got Hughes, who I think was an excellent choice as well. And it started from the top down, and these guys are all in agreement. Like they have defined it in their minds exactly the way they want to see it to go. That doesn't mean it's always going to stay on that uni track, right? Like things will happen, and they'll have to adapt to it. But the overall like genesis of what they want to achieve will be there, and they'll maintain it. And they're doing it in a market where you get a lot of pressure, right? Like people are constantly like Montreal is at the core of one of the mega markets in the whole NHL, and they have probably the biggest history behind them. With a couple of other teams, but they're staying the course. I truly believe that. Now that doesn't mean that part of their thinking process or think tank is they have to also look that currently on their roster, they might have a player or two, and if they get the right offers, they will dispense with those contracts. And I'm thinking, maybe the likes of somebody like a Dvorak, right? They're already sort of working on possibly getting Evans back in at the right price and right length, and if that's achieved, then you have your successor on the third line center, and then that opens the door for an Owen Beck or somebody else to come up and take that position. So I think that they'll stay the course unless they get some outrageous offer for any one particular player. But it doesn't mean that they won't get rid of a player or two along the way. But that doesn't mean necessarily they're going to go after a key player just because they feel, hey, we're in the mix, we're in the second wild card spot, and we're going to try to get that cup this year or next year. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's another good point right there, because I think at the end of the day, guys, the trade deadline will tell you a little bit more what they look like the next 20 games, right? This will be I think usually Kent Hughes has been a little bit more early at the trade deadline, right? He will try to fully early in January, money in early, doesn't wait at the last minute. This year, I think he would push back everything all the way to 1 week before the trade deadline, I believe. And if the team's still there, I don't see many change. I think he would prefer, in my opinion, at least you get a high value in return. But I think he would prefer to play meaningful game in March and April for his group at whatever he's losing, Amir Devorak, Jake Evan, or David Savard at the UFA. I think this is what my vision about Kent Hughes, how he's thinking right now. I think that's what he wants to accomplish. And I think this is the reason I believe, or what he said, he's going to see what's happening the next 20 game. But I don't see him as a buyer to max or anything. And then at the end of the day, guys, if he's buyer, who do you remove for your lineup?
Well, eventually, coach, there'll be decision, not necessarily at the trade deadline time, but at some point, as the need arises, there'll be some hard decisions that Gorton and Hughes will have to make in terms of maybe packaging a player or two to address a different type of need on the team to make that team complete. And so you're going to see some movement, and as long as they have like the mindset in terms of who's going to succeed, that one or two players that are going to leave, that's okay. That's part of the process. You have to roll with the punches as they come up. And I think at some point they do make that some kind of move like that. But think of the trade deadline. How many teams have picked up top-notch players and have not won the Stanley Cup? The only time you kind of have a very good chance of going far is when you fulfill or you satisfy a particular position, like a role player that comes into play. Colorado did it with a Lehkonen. We saw Vegas do it a couple times or once, but last year Florida didn't have to bring in a superstar. The teams that did do that and brought in superstars ended up exiting from the playoffs very quickly.
Not a traded line in our top, but at during the summer, you do those kind of transactions.
Exactly.
There's
usually at a traded line.
There's a big difference, guys, between bringing in a player to win the Stanley Cup and bringing in a player to make the playoffs, right? Like if you feel like you're one player away from winning the cup, that's a lot different from being one win away from getting a wild card spot, like Detroit did last year, right? Like they brought in guys because they thought they could make the playoffs. Like there's a big difference there between those two things.
That's exactly the point. That's why he's not going to change the plan. That's the reason behind that. So he's not going to bring someone to make only the playoff. He will say, you know what, I stick with what we got right now, and if we make it, perfect. If we don't make it, but we play meaningful game, I'm okay with that part. So the plan does not change for the Montreal Canadiens, I believe, in my opinion, for the trade deadline in March 7. We have to see what's happening, but I think this is the reason I believe is going to be that direction for the Montreal Canadiens. And then during the summer, they go have a better evaluation of what's happening during the season, and then we make some change during the summer to see, okay, how we get signed back Armia, Jake Evans. We know what Ken Hughes said last week. He wants balance between experience and player with not much experience in the lineup. He doesn't want to have one direction to other direction. So he's going to make some change, and then during the summer, you see, we promote the mid-up, maybe Owen Beck, and keep Evans, Armiel, Savard. We'll see what's happening, but that's what I feel. And again, he's in the plan. I don't think on his plan right now, not because they are played well, is going to push the rebuild faster. He's going to stay on the same pace. He's going to take 1 year at a time. And next year, like I said, they're going to reevaluate again a couple of more players to realize in 2 years, okay, now we have a better lineup, a better chance now to become a team can play. And you're going to see the growth, Martin Saint-Louis, what are you going to bring to the team and how the team is going to play. So all those answers going to go with only the time, honestly. But I think I believe there's a way to get there. Zev Lekav is in the house. Welcome back. Marko Larbi knocked the door. Thanks, everybody, to be a part of the show. Don't forget, please, to click on the like if you don't mind. Look, guys, we have other subjects. Kenokoli, Tobesh, Sakoski, and the clash and the preview. So we have 5 subjects. I'm going to skip all the subjects. We're going to hit the clash. And then we're going to see with the time where we are. Anyway, tomorrow night, I'm back again so I can attack other subject if we need it. So don't worry about that. The clash, the Royal Rumble tonight between Inartap and, of course, the Devin. We'll see what they look like tonight on this one. And we're going to get this one. And the people in the chat, guys, if you are new or never participated in the clash is absolutely or not at all. So this is a question I ask them, and they have to tell me if they are agree or if they are absolutely or not allowed. You do the same thing in the chat and keep the conversation about the question. If you don't mind, that'd be good. That's the way you can exchange with your opinion about the Montreal Canadiens question or anything about the NHL. So the first question of the night for the clash, Mr. Nartap. Hutson is going to have more points at Chris Chelios. Chelios lead or have the record of the most point per a rookie in NHL and Montreal Canadiens history with 64 points. He is at 32 and 42 games. So what do you think for Lane Hutson? Absolutely another law. More point at Chris Chelios at the end.
Who's first?
Oh.
You want to go first?
Oh, so enough.
I'll go first.
Oh, me? Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I'll say not at all. I think he may come close to it. I think he'll get around maybe a 59, 60. But that's a tough target to get, 64. Yeah, I'm going to say not at all.
I'm going to say absolutely, and the reason is that he's on pace to get there as it stands. He's on pace to get there based on a team that struggled for the better part of the first half of the season. I think that things will be better with the team in the second half of the season, and I think the points will come even more frequently for Hutson in the second half, and I think he will eclipse that 64 number from Chris Chelios.
That's a good one about
I don't think he'll be as good a fighter. I don't think he'll be as good a fighter as Chelios was, but he'll get points.
Like you said, in our top, usually exactly about that. Looking for since not allowed about that. Listen, I praise all night for Lane Hutson, so I have to go with absolutely about that one. But the key on that one, of course, injury. But I'm going to give you one more thing. How many games Patrick Laine is going to play for the next 40 games? This will be the key for Lane Hutson, in my opinion. So I think that will be one thing right there about Lane Hutson. So I go with that one, absolutely, with Devin there. Second two, I know we talk about this. Demidov will become a franchise player for the Montreal Canadiens, Devin.
Obviously, it's really hard to predict what a prospect is going to do. I think for me, when I look at a prospect, I look at how they perform at every step along the way up to their eventual arrival in the NHL. Demidov has excelled at every level, despite some roadblocks being put in his way. As far as him being a franchise player, I mean, I think so. Am I prepared to say absolutely? I struggle with that just because, you never know what's going to happen. The KHL isn't the NHL, but I think at this stage, he's shown me enough at the KHL level that I will say absolutely. And again, my rose-colored glasses have been on all show, so I might as well leave them on now. So I will say yes, he will become a franchise player for the Montreal Canadiens. And I know Coach is going to agree with me on that. So I always want to be on the same side as Coach.
And after
Well, we've redefined a new word here, right? We went from elite to superstar. Now all of a sudden franchise. There's generational. That's the problem in all of this. Is what do you define as franchise player? Is he the one player that will take the team to the next level? If that's the case, I don't think he's the only one that could do that, right? We talked earlier about the effect that Hutson has on this team. Would you put Hutson in that category as well? It's hard to speculate because obviously, as you mentioned, Devin, KHL is a different bowl of wax than the NHL. Based on what you see and the toolbox that he has with him, I would say absolutely. But the proof is in the pudding, as they say. So he's got to do it at the NHL level. But I absolutely believe he has the toolkit to get to that level. But just to be different, I'm going to say not at all.
All right, and after on that one, I'm going to enlarge my bonsai and my back in our tab tonight. So after I predict Elaine Hutson is going to be an elite player in Montreal Canadiens, I announced tonight Evan Demidov is going to be the franchise player for the Montreal Canadiens. He's going to be the first player to reach a total of 100 points in the next 6 years for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, we're going to talk about this. I watch, guys, Demidov. He play again tomorrow morning at 11:30 p.m. a.m. If you want to follow Demidov, play again the team Locomotive. And I think Nicholas said, someone said that in the chat. I don't know. I think it was Gary about that. Imagine in our tap if he was not Rothenberg behind the bench and put John Cooper. The SK are first in the KHL by mile. He will play Demidov. If he play every game 16, 17, 18 minutes, Demidov would be 50 points right now in KHL. This is a team struggling. But what Demidov bring on the table when he play on the ice, I don't see many players in the KHL can do exactly what Demidov does. Now, I know you're going to tell me, are you crazy, coach? But I'm telling you right now, Demidov is at the same level in the KHL like the best player play in NHL. The Kaprizov, the Kucherov, when they completely play on the KHL, and he was excellent at a young age. Demidov right now at 18 years old, play with that league, and honestly, he's on the ice. Many games, he's the best player on the ice for the minute he play as a TOI. So for me, no doubt in my mind, he's going to be the franchise player for Montreal Canadiens. I know I said Lennart is going to be an elite. Demidov is going to be another step over Lennartson. So
yeah, I think if you watch him play on a regular basis, that's I mean, again, you showed us the clip the other night of the edge work with him behind the net. Is just, I mean, and every time I watch that kid play, he just blows my mind. So, again,
yeah, it's surreal.
I think you're right. He's so good. He's so good.
We'll see what happening in the next one. Zev said he's going to be a party animal. But if you don't bring Cousins in with him, that would be fine. I know the subject all
Yeah.
the time. Let your player and the KHL over there. Don't bring them with him. The next one,
or D'Angelo.
the contract of Lane Hutson. Less $8.5 million, 8 years. Now, pay attention, guys, is 8 years. The biggest question here. Not a 5 years contract, an 8 years contract. So on that one, Devin, we start with you. Absolutely, not at all.
So for me, the biggest issue here is the internal cap that Kent Hughes has set up, and the internal cap is basically based on Nick Suzuki's contract, and I think Nick Suzuki's contract was 8 years at 7.875 or something like that. I think that's what it was, 7.9, something like that. So I guess the only question here would be whether or not Hutson signs at that level, below that level. Are they prepared to give Hutson a number above Nick Suzuki? Are we going to take into account the fact that the cap is probably going to go up significantly in the next several years, or are we sticking to this cap, this artificial cap that exists where Nick Suzuki is at the top? We saw Cole Caulfield sign for, I forget what it was, for like $100,000 less than Nick Suzuki. I think that if the Canadiens can get Lane Hutson for $8.5 million for 8 years, I think that's a really good deal. I think if they can get him for the same amount Nick Suzuki at $7.9 million for 8 years, I think it's an even better deal. So my response to that is going to be not at all, because I think that the Canadiens are going to try and get him below or at the same level as Nick Suzuki. And I think that he will be willing to do that so that he can continue to be a part of what's happening with this team right now. So my answer is not at all. I think that he'll sign for somewhere closer to 7.850 or whatever it is that Nick Suzuki is currently making.
And out that?
Well, here's the situation, guys. Absolutely, in terms of when you have core players on your team, you have to try to, as administration, you have to try to lock these guys up for the long haul. They did it with Gouli, or they did it with Suzuki and Caulfield and Slafkovsky. Gouli has, I think, a 5-year contract or a 6-year, if I recall correctly. The idea is they're going to try to get him for the 8 years, no doubt about that. So I don't disagree with that. I would say if it was immediate, they would want to keep it around Suzuki's level. But there's no doubt that this guy brings a whole new dimension to the team. And 8.5, given the salary cap increase and the fact that it'll be a good percentage of the salary cap as well, that they'll probably have to go to that level to secure him. So I'm going to say absolutely.
Contract $8.5 million, $8 million, I would say that not at all. But I won't be surprised if he get paid more at Lane Hutson to Nick Suzuki. Said that, also, I would not be surprised if he get a bridge contract of 4 or 5 years, like Caden Cooley. That would be my pick.
I mean, ideally, they would like to get him for the 8 years, but
yeah,
it all depends on where Hutson and his agent want to go with this.
Yeah, and I think this is where culture plays a big role in it, right? I think saw some people talking about it in the comments. To what degree has Montreal been successful in creating an environment where these guys want to stay? Are they prepared to take a bit of hometown discount, in order to stay with this group and stay with this mission? So I think that's going to be a big part of this too.
Welcome, Roger Delaney. Thanks. We're missing 1 or 2 likes to get 60. Why not to get that level? That'd be great. And after next one, the Montreal Canadiens make the playoff Martin St. Louis, finalist of the Jack Adams Trophy.
I thought you were asking
If
if they were the finalists for the Adams Conference or Adams Division. Old school.
Are you asking if they make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay. I definitely think he'll be in the conversation. Considering that they brought him up to this level. I'm going to say if he's a finalist. I'm going to go with absolutely on that one. If they make the playoffs, he's definitely got to be in the consideration.
Devin.
Sorry, I'm just responding. I'm responding to Patrick LeWhite's comment there about the bimbo who slept with Cole Caulfield. It's making me laugh a little bit. So, I'm also with I'm with Entertap. I agree. I think if he makes the playoffs, he will get that consideration. I don't know that he'll win the award, but I think he will definitely get serious consideration for Coach of the Year if the Montreal Canadiens are able to make the playoffs. I think it will be difficult to deny the quality of his coaching if he is able to bring this team, which most people around the NHL don't believe that this team has what it takes to be a playoff team. I think they'll certainly recognize that effort.
Good comments in the chat. Washington. It all depends what Winnipeg and the Minnesota in our tap. And I was said to you, Columbus Blue Jacket. So I know it's like, is that the question in my answer is not one that I was going to. So I would say to you guys, not at all.
If the Canadiens make the playoffs, though, Columbus probably doesn't, right? If Canadiens are in the playoffs, Columbus probably is not.
Yeah, generally speaking, when you think of the Adams Trophy, it either goes to the coach of a team that is at the top of the league, or it goes to a team that has surpassed expectations and has made the playoffs at that point. So that's why I have him in the finalist area, because if you're saying they're going to make the playoffs, then he definitely merits consideration.
Yeah, but again, like I said, I think they have other team right now is going to whatever Montreal make it. I still believe the Washington Capitals. That will be the biggest story in the NHL, in my opinion, on that one. If Columbus make it also, even where you do not believe me, so I put Montreal 7 and Columbus 8.
Okay.
Just kidding. But that is a good point, Devin. Last one, guys. A Montreal Canadiens member, coach, player, I was going to win a trophy, Devin. Absolutely not at all.
Wow. So what are our options here? So our options would be, I would say, as we just discussed, Marty St. Louis winning the Adams, Lane Hutson winning the Calder, maybe Cole Caulfield wins the Rocket Richard. Are we going there? Probably not. Nick Suzuki for the Selke possibility. I am going to. I mean, obviously, I think my answer realistically, the Lady Byng for who would be the Lady Byng?
It's not the bounce back player, no.
No,
Lady Byng is for the most gentlemanly player.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, realistically, I think my answer is probably, as with most of these questions, somewhere between absolutely and not at all. I am going to say at the end of the day, I'm going to say not at all, only because I think that Hutson is going to get overlooked because they're going to prefer to give it to the player with the most points. They're going to prefer to give it to a forward. I think that at the end of the day, Marty St. Louis probably gets overlooked by, Carberry, in Washington, or perhaps, as you say, I can't think of the coach's name right now in Columbus, but he used to be in Minnesota, I think. I can't think of his name right now. So I'm going to say not at all, just because not because I don't think none of the players on the team will deserve it. It's just that I don't think at the end of the day they'll get the consideration to win it. I don't think that Marty St. Louis will win Coach of the Year. I don't think that Lane Hutson, even though I think he may at the end of the day deserve it, I don't think he'll actually get those to win it.
And after that.
Well, one of our other clashes, we talked about would Hutson be in the conversation for the Calder? Would he be one of the finalists? And I said at that point, I think not only will he be in the finalists, he has an excellent chance of winning it. So just based on being consistent with that, I'll say absolutely. And I might even venture to go a little bit further and say that there is one other player that could very well win a prize, a trophy, and that would be Lene. He would get the Masterton trophy. So I think that somewhere in there will be somebody that wins a trophy. Coach, your turn.
I was going to make a joke about Kirby Duck, but I was going to skip that one.
Oh,
But I would say yes. I have to finish the show with Lane Hutson, so why not to go the Calder Trophy to Lane Hutson? But I think inside, and I feel bad about the trophy, Calder Trophy, because I think you have a lot of good candidates this year, and I'm talking about Hudson, Celebrini, Michkov, and I think, in my opinion, I know, guys, I follow the Flame. I think I watched 36 games of the 42 game of the Flames this year. If I miss it, I see the highlights. And every time one Dawson Wolf is between the pipe, if he's not the first star of the game, he's a 3-star of the game. Like, Wolf is unbelievable. What they at right now, the Flame guys, I know Vladar what he did, but without Wolf, the Flame are not there at all. Wolf is a wall. I predict Wolf and the biggest score again. I predict Dustin Wolf is going to be the next Sarah Rose in NHL. He's only 6 foot. But everywhere, if you follow Wolf, everywhere he play, at the lower level, at the triple WA, he went after that with a silver tip. And then he go to the American Hockey League. Wolf is unbelievable. Like, he's the goalie of the year. 1 year at least for every level he go. And again, unfortunately, I don't think he have a chance to make it because rare a goalie get a rookie of the year, right? And the category is going to maybe make the playoff or not. But for me, I love Lane Hutson, but Dustin Wolf guys have to be on the nomination this year because this get and watching guys. You want to see a great goalie at young age, how he's going to be. This is Dustin Wolf. The kid is so good. Square is control the rebound. Is just good. So, but again, I will go with that one with absolutely. I feel like Lane Hutson night. So why not to give him the Calder Trophy tonight, Mr. Nartap, on that one.
Way to go, Coach. Way to go.
On that one. So we'll go to Skip, guys. First of all, we want to thank everybody. Roger Delaney back in the house, by the way. So welcome back, Roger. Thanks to be with us. We have many other subjects. We hit the end of the show. We're going to be back tomorrow night anyway, 8:30 p.m. Join everybody, talk about the Montreal Canadiens. So we're going to talk about tomorrow. Sakaski, Tobash, Kenan Coley are my 3 biggest subjects tomorrow. And we'll see what's happening also for Montreal Canadiens. Going to take the plane afternoon to go in direction of Utah. Again, the Bear, the head coach of the Utah team. The preview of the weeks, Montreal Canadiens play Utah, Dallas, and Toronto next week. Both first 2 games on the road, and the last game, Montreal against Toronto Maple Leafs. Last week, we have only one person win the 5 point. By the way, congratulations for that one. I don't know why, but I lost my cam, so I apologize for that one. I'll be back. I will finish my conversation in after that, if you don't mind. I'll be right back after that. I believe A2 is the winner last week. No, it's not A2. It's M&M. So it was the winner. Yeah, M&M, M-Money in the chat last week. Devin, last week, you won again for another 6 point, Devin.
Oh, did I go 6? Okay.
Yeah,
I thought I said 5 last week.
No. Devin, you go with 4 last week.
Yeah.
And
you went.
RG and then again, it was then again. I don't know. Then again, it was like 6. So
okay.
I apologize for that one. I don't know where I am right now. Why I'm not there anymore. I'm back. There we go. It will be like
there
this.
There he is.
Now it's my I don't know why, but when I'm when I try to change it right there. See, when I hit
That's
the,
like
when I hit the my table, I create I lost my cable. I lost my camera. Anyway, it's no big deal. Not the end of the world.
That's like you at Le Minuit Noir. You disappeared last night. Disappearing act from Le Minuit Noir.
Yeah.
Backdoor.
Black money.
Backdoor.
Here we go. Next week in after.
I'm going to go with 5 points.
Oh, now you're optimistic all of a sudden. I love it.
Yeah, look at the teams they're playing. Toronto, that's 2 easy points. Utah's another 2. And Dallas could go either way.
Well, as usual, Entertap gets to go first, and he gets to take my number. I will go with 4 points. Although I wanted to say 5, I will say 4 points. I think they win in Utah, and they get 2 points between Dallas and Toronto. Whether it's 2 ties or a win and a loss, I'm not sure.
So if you get 5 points, we'll give you 0.5, Devin, next week. Guy, you cannot get 4 or 5 like Devin. Don't believe him. Go with one decision, Guy. 4 or 5 points next week.
Go with 5.
Luc Laforcine, go with 3.
Of course.
You know what? I follow Luc Laforcine. I go with 3.
Okay.
Whenever I hear Luc Lafortune, I think of, do you remember the old Quebec League referee, Luc Lachapelle? Do you remember him, Coach?
Oh, yeah. Luc Lachapelle was, unfortunately, he died early age, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. He passed away like maybe 10 years ago, I believe. Maybe Luc Laforcine, PLW, can tell the story about Luc Lachapelle, but what a funny guy on the ice as a referee. I met him many times. Then I was also with the Laval. It wasn't Laval after that. And Luc Lachapelle, like he was doing the big game on the junior for many years. Luc Lachapelle. I don't know the story. Someone in the chat can tell me exactly what happening. I apologize. I don't remember what happening to him, but he passed away. I think it's 10 years ago.
I remember him watching him referee a game between the Halifax Mooseheads and the Rimouski Oceanic with Sidney Crosby.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw him referee a lot of games, but I do remember him for sure. He was a character on the ice for sure.
Yeah. But people talk about him. Luc Lachapelle would, as a kid, to drop the glove and fight. Yeah, like I'm telling you right now, it was a nice guy, by the way. Nothing bothered him. No. We said it's my show tonight, showtime, and he would pop up there, and he was well respected, by the way.
Luc Lachapelle
and the junior.
He was. Yeah.
Yep.
He was Wes McCauley before Wes McCauley.
Oh yeah.
Luc Lachapelle was a
Remember
referee. Or someone asked her, yes, he was a referee,
McCauley.
Luc Lachapelle at the
Yes, he
QM.
was.
And look, he was right there. I got all the prediction of the Montreal Canadiens. I appreciate a lot, guys.
Your
Look,
favorite player scored again, Coach.
yeah.
Your favorite player on Vegas scored again.
And then you have Justin St. Pierre. I have a lot of story with Justin St. Pierre. When I go to the East Coast Hockey League, many years, at the beginning of '98, the beginning of 2000, but '98, 96 was my first year. I moved Mississippi in '98, and St. Pierre popped up 1 year after that, after me. So it was 4 years. So Justin St. Pierre won leave in Pensacola. He was referee in the East Coast Hockey League. And I was in Mississippi St. Wolf with Boudreau, everybody else. And a couple of French players play in the Mississippi. But Justin St. Pierre, you have to give him some guts. Like me, maybe, because me, I didn't speak English at all. But Justin St. Pierre, ref in East Coast Hockey League, he got promoted for the QM. He did not speak English at all. Like, he could not. Like, he had no clue. So what he was doing, he was said a French player play in the game. He was said, "Come with me. I will tell you." Do my translation to the opponent captain to tell what I'm going to tell you, everything like that. And that time, guys, was not four referee. Four on the ice was only three. So he was the only referee on the ice, Justin. But he was. Andrei Kosticin outside of the ice, and I was going out with him many times, and again I was I was I was doing the English, French, and my English was not very good also with him. But what a great story with Justin St. Pierre. He made the NHL, guys. I think he's been in NHL. I think he's retired now. He's been 12, 14 years in NHL as a referee. So I have to give credit. Born in Chicoutimi, Bleuet. And he grew and all the way to the NHL. So Justin St. Pierre, remember him about that. But like this, so guys, that'll be the end of this show tonight. I think we did very good overall. We'll be back tomorrow night about the Montreal Canadiens. We are concerned subject. Don't forget, Evan Demidov return on the ice tomorrow at 11:30 against the team Locomotive. First line,
franchise player.
third line. I don't know what Rothenberg's thinking.
Against Zach.
Locomotive.
Zach
Fucali.
Yeah. You're right about that.
Zachary Fucali, Locomotive.
We want to thank Moderator Luciano tonight. We want to thank all the people click on the likes. We want to thank RG Calabo, the news update. Conversation that show was excellent again. We want to welcome a few new people. One of you, Devin Claire, I believe. And then we have Guy return with us and many others, guys. It was a part of the show tonight. But we have two excellent co-hosts. They are reason why the show is so good because they are.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
That's the reason we hit 60 likes every night, because those people bring a lot of knowledge about hockey and they give our time to be with us, guys. So we have to be grateful, thankful for Devin, of course. And in our time, you can follow Devin on his YouTube channel, The Recliner Sport. And if I don't see you next time, I want to see what you're looking for during the week for In Our Tap, the last word of the night In Our Tap. For me, by Devin.
Saturday
I'm just
night,
looking for them to keep. Sorry, go ahead, Intertap.
No, I was just going to say Saturday night. Nothing like a Saturday night between the Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens. Go Habs, go!
There we go.
Yeah,
Devin.
I guess I'm looking forward to Saturday night as well. Again, I'm just looking for them to keep moving in the right direction. I'm looking for them to keep this momentum going forward, keep the train going on the tracks. And I'm loving it. It's just great to watch this team right now. And next Saturday is going to be a great time Habs Leafs. I can't wait to beat the crap out of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I just want another good week like we did the last couple of weeks. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. Win or lose, it's okay for me if we compete, and it's more fun when we win. But I think it's more fun to watch Montreal play right now. So we'll see what they're going to respond. Again, the team Utah, the team Dallas again, and then Toronto next week. Again, they leave. We want to thank both of you guys. Be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Both of you together. We'll see what happening.
Your
2025.
2025.
You guys, you're in a training camp right now. But it's okay. We'll see you next time, my friend. Have a great night, Devin. A great night. And after that, I will see you next time. I'll finish the show alone.
Good night, guys.
Coach, you're not there. Yes, I'm here. But I cannot see me. Oh. One more time. Booyah! Good night.